Coming up on this edition of Southern News Week, a bus lobby group is hopeful of changes to who governs the city's buses. Mobility scooter users can now safely use a formerly tricky intersection, and the Vogel Street Party is declared a success despite inclement weather. Kia ora, good evening, I'm Melissa Barton. A Dunedin-based passenger transport lobby group is pleased that bus services could be governed by the Dunedin City Council instead of the Otago Regional Council. At the final meeting of the previous Dunedin City Council, Aaron Hawkins raised the issue, gaining support from fellow councillors.
It could be all change for Dunedin's bus service. Lobby group Busco are pleased the Dunedin City Council discussed the DCC taking over governance of the buses from the Regional Council.
People know, people who use the buses in Dunedin know the City Council a bit better. They know their councillors, they know where the City Council is if they have a problem. So we just think it's a bit more accessible for users to be able to go into the City Council and sort out their problems.
Busco spokesperson Alex King says the idea of the DCC looking after buses instead of the Regional Council was floated by Aaron Hawkins, but it's not a new idea.
He's floated the idea of moving the governance of the buses from the ORC, from the Regional Council where it currently is, into the Dunedin City Council, and it's actually been something that's been on the sort of drawing board I think for a long time. Like back in 2014 it was actually raised by the Regional Council.
King says there's been improvement in the service on the buses, but the journey is not over yet.
The Regional Council have done a good job in terms of, over a long period of time, over 10 years or more, the quality of buses has really improved. We've got wheelchair accessible buses, just the technology that's come in, and some technology that's planned to come in the near future, which has been a sort of long-term gradual improvement by the Regional Council.
He believes the DCC will communicate with users better than the ORC has in the past.
Things that aren't so great under the Regional Council, under the bus service, I sort of untidy things, the way they've changed the routes, sometimes not told people. They haven't really been in contact with the users as much as we'd like, and so hopefully that's something the City Council could do better.
He says the cost of bus trips and concession tickets still prohibits people from taking the bus. Alex King says Busco Dunedin intends to lobby the new councils when they're in office. In Dunedin, the South Today.
After years of waiting, Dunedin woman Fiona Russell is now looking forward to crossing the road with a bit more ease. Dunedin City Council contractors began work recently to make the crossing at Hillside Road and King Edward Street more accessible for wheelchair users.
Over a year ago, Dunedin woman Fiona Russell described trying to navigate Cargill's Corner intersection in her electric wheelchair as pretty diabolical. She has at times had her wheelchair caught in the gutter, unable to move, facing traffic as the lights change. A frightening prospect for someone who cannot just leap out of their wheelchair and pull it back to the curb.
I have to go on an angle, not straight on, because if I go straight on, my wheels get stuck.
Council contractors began work last week to make the curbside guttering more suited for her type of wheelchair. Disability Information Service Advisor John Marable says wheelchairs such as Russell's get stuck in the gutter at Cargill's Corner because of antiquated legislation.
Fiona's wheelchair was a very wide and heavy wheelchair, and the legislation from 2001 doesn't suit the wheelchair, so you have contractors go to put a curb ramp out and they follow the legislation, but it is totally impracticable.
While Russell is looking forward to no longer risking getting snagged in the gutter, she says the traffic lights do not allow enough time for wheelchairs to cross.
It's going to be much easier, but I wished it was a barn dance, because they've taken the barn dance away.
The Dunedin City Council has said a barns dance is not justified for the intersection as pedestrian numbers are low and it would create longer traffic queues. But Russell believes South Dunedin has more disabled people than elsewhere in the city, and Cargill's Corner presents a major challenge for many of them.
Put it this way, I reckon people in wheelchairs scooters, blind people need to have more good way to handle how to get over the road safely.
Unfortunately, there are several other places in the city that give wheelchair users grief. While the Wall Street Mall was excellent for wheelchair users to get around in, being dropped off by a taxi van with a hoist at the St Andrew Street entrance can be fraught due to the narrow street and lack of space.
When the taxis pull up, they do not have any room to unload us because where the curbing is to put us up on, there's usually a car on the place they want to drop us off.
Marrable has already seen some concept designs for improving access to Wall Street.
What they're going to do is extend the island out so that the taxi van will be able to drive over the island and then use that island to lower the hoist down, and then it's going to be a flat transition from the island onto the pavement.
Marrable says he's been working towards helping the council and contractors understand the issues people in wheelchairs encounter at road crossings.
I'm starting to work closely with the guys in DCC, and we're going out shortly to have a look at crossings saying this is how we can improve things, and we're going to get contractors out as well and give them ideas.
He says, thanks to people such as Fiona Russell, regularly asking the council when they will improve particular parts of the city's intersections and footpaths, that changes are slowly happening. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Wet weather didn't deter several hundred Dunedinites from marching in the central city to make a statement about suicide on Saturday. The annual Hope Walk is coordinated by the Life Matters Suicide Prevention Trust, aiming to boost awareness of suicide issues.
Marching in vibrant yellow as a symbol of hope on World Suicide Awareness Day.
Kia kaha, look after one another. Kia ora.
Dunedin's event was organised by the Life Matters Suicide Prevention Trust, who are pleased with the number of people who took part.
It went really well. I was very surprised to see the amount of people that turned up because, as you know, the weather was pretty inclement. It was cold, it was wet, and it drizzled the whole time. But it was amazing to see all the people turn up with their umbrellas and yellow umbrellas, all dressed in yellow.
The organisation is a registered charity which aims to reassure people who face mental health issues that they're not alone. Robert Griffiths is a peer supporter with Life Matters and says just talking and sharing stories is important.
They have a lot of friends throughout high school that have passed away, different events that have happened to me personally throughout first year university or boarding school. So I think it's just me recognising that I'm fortunate enough to be strong through that, so why not be strong for other people as well.
Yellow is the international colour of suicide awareness and prevention, and Corinda Taylor loved seeing a wave of yellow umbrellas and high-vis jackets coming along George Street. Saturday's Hope Walk was the organisation's last major event for the year, but she says people at the centre are there if people need to talk.
Yeah, so there's this myth out there that talking about suicide is going to cause it. However, if you talk about it in a safe way, you give people an opportunity to open up about their own struggles, and by talking about their own struggles, we can identify that they are in trouble and we can reach out and support them better.
Life Matters runs Safe Talk workshops so people can help others around them. Griffiths says Life Matters at the Hope Centre in Albion Place can be there as an ear to encourage people to talk further.
I was aware that I could go and see a psychiatrist or something. That wasn't ever an idea. So I think you literally just have to be talking about all the numbers that you can text and things like that. And then even if people don't want to use those, they're going, oh well, what does that service do? Can I find something similar to what that service does, but what I want?
If you need help or think someone you know needs help, these are some of the agencies available to help. But if it's an emergency, dial 111. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Umbrellas, plastic ponchos and hoodies were the fashion of the day as revellers braved the rain for this year's Vogel Street party. Organisers say the event went off without a hitch despite days of rain and a wet event.
Enjoying a relaxing coffee after a busy and wet weekend, coordinating this year's Vogel Street Party.
The success of it is really largely down to the huge positive input put in by all of our volunteers and all of our sponsors and all of our community engagements, so all the events that are contributed. People seem to know that we were going to go on, rain, hail or shine.
The annual street party returned on Saturday after taking a break last year, bringing thousands of revellers to a busy but soggy Vogel Street. Street Party Committee Chairman Brendan Christie says about 10,000 people attended the event, and he heard from many happy people during the day.
Community really came through, I think, and it was just wonderful to see so many people turn up on a day where a lot of people would rather just stay at home by their fireplace, I think.
This year's theme was Dunedin Icons, with city rock royalty The Chills topping the lineup. Christie says alongside the 5-person committee, a huge number of volunteers helped the day run well, regardless of a bit of rain.
Embrace the weather as it being a Dunedin party and that we're just going to go ahead no matter what. And I think a great saying is that there's no such thing as bad weather, it's just bad clothing.
Music was spread across several stages, creating a smorgasbord of sound through the day. There was also a children's area, with entertainers like Shelley J performing and face painting for kids of all ages. There was also a Vogel's Got Talent area for aspiring performers. Next weekend it's South Dunedin's time to shine, with the South Dunedin Busking Festival set to fill King Edward Street with a multitude of sound on Saturday. In Dunedin, for South Today.
Still to come on this edition of Southern News Week, we catch up with the local body elections from around the south, so see you after the break. Dunedin's new mayor is the youngest to ever take office, replacing outgoing 3-term mayor Dave Cull. 35-year-old Aaron Hawkins took the chance to celebrate his success with family and supporters as the results for the local body elections came out.
Celebrating his success with his 3-year-old son Emil and other family and supporters, Aaron Hawkins is now Dunedin's mayor, and he says he's pleasantly surprised by the result.
Speechlessness isn't something that afflicts me often. I wouldn't say I was confident. I was optimistic that the city would get a good outcome without being confident that I would be the successful candidate.
With 3-term Mayor Dave Cull standing down, 14 hopefuls had stood for mayor in a campaign marred with vitriol and accusations. Hawkins secured about 16,500 votes, which saw him squeaking in with a margin of just 14% over his nearest rival, Lee Vandervis.
A lot of time, volunteer time, went into making this happen because we didn't have a lot of money to spend on advertising. It took human effort to get out and have conversations with people and talk to our community about what their priorities were. And the mood in the community, I think, was largely positive. And we ran a positive campaign, and I think that's been reflected in the result, not just for the mayoralty, but also for the City Council election.
The Green Party candidate and former City Councillor says he's taking over the helm at a busy time for the city, with the hospital build and Central City upgrade looming as major projects in the city.
I think it was an incredibly important election for the future of the city. There's a lot going on. It's an exciting time in Dunedin, but also a very challenging time, and I think given the significance of some of the major projects and some of the challenges that we have, it was important that we had strong and progressive political leadership to build on the momentum that we've built over the last 2 terms.
Saturday's local body elections saw all current mayors in Otago and Southland voted back in to serve another term. 4 of the re-elected mayors we spoke to say they have important issues to address in their town or region.
Central Otago District has voted Tim Cadogan back in for his 2nd term. The mayor says affordable housing is a major issue for the region.
We have a low-wage economy in Central Otago and we have high house prices, and that affects the whole spectrum. So people who are struggling to keep their rental properties getting sold to Airbnbs, or indeed employers struggling to find staff because people can't afford to live here. It is a really big social issue, as shown in the Southern District Health Board report that came out last month.
Jim Bolt is elected back for his second term at Queenstown Lakes District. The upcoming 3 years will see him battling issues regarding airport expansions and visitor levies for tourists.
We've achieved a lot in the last 3 years. Some I'd mark as ticked off, some I'd say half done, others we've yet to start. So list will include addressing airport issues, addressing environmental issues, growth, which we've got to look at, and of course completing the work to put the bed tax in place.
Southland District has voted Gary Tong back as mayor for a third time. Although he says this third term will be his last, he's looking forward to helping build the community.
To look at the localism concept that we have, looking after our communities, empowering our communities to get up and get things done and work with them to achieve their projects.
After a tough and fractious campaign, Invercargill has voted Tim Shadbolt back in for his 9th term. He says looking after the local zero fees polytech is the most important task ahead.
Well, I think in the immediate future, it's definitely the future of SIT. That has done so much for the city and making it a much more energised and exciting place to live and work. And we have to hang on to that success as much as we can. I know the government's stronger than us, but we are good fighters when it comes to preserving our place in this country.
With the addition of his 2 terms as Mayor of Waitemata City in the 1980s, the 72-year-old Shadbolt is now a New Zealand record holder in regard to the 11 times he's served as Mayor.
When I was a humble concrete contractor, it never crossed my mind that I'd be the longest serving mayor in the history of Invercargill, the longest serving mayor in the history of New Zealand, and the longest serving mayor in this country, so he's still in office.
In Southland and Otago, the South Today.
Still to come on this edition of Southern News Week, many people turn out to clean up North Dunedin in memory of a student who died at a party. And Waimate hosts a blade sharing event which attracted a couple of champion competitors. So stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. The streets and student flats around North Dunedin are looking a lot tidier after a mass clean-up recently. An estimated 2,500 students and other volunteers took part in the memorial clean-up in memory of second-year University of Otago student Sophia Cristani, who died at a Dunedin house party earlier this month.
Coming together in memory of a friend. Thousands of people from all walks of life took part in a mass clean-up of the student quarter on Sunday, after a request from the parents of 19-year-old student Sophia Cristani, who died at a Dunedin house party earlier this month.
It's a great opportunity to get everyone back as a community, rally together and do some good in the community. Obviously it's not the most tidiest place, a lot of students around here, so it's a great opportunity to not only repay the honour of the family and what they want to do, but to get out and do something good for the community. And it's not only students that are out here, there's everyone. Older people, families, kids, so it's great to see.
What started as a street clean-up quickly spread into the bushes and front yards of student flats, uncovering troves of old alcohol bottles, broken bikes and used tyres.
It's just lots of bottles, lots of alcohol, lots of leftovers from nights out that I'm sure students have been up to, so it's good though. It's good to get out here and clean up and do a good thing.
In one of his first official roles as Mayor, Aaron Hawkins, as well as hundreds of other Dunedin City Council staff, took part in the clean-up.
I think the turnout at the event today shows just how civic-minded our student body can be. That's not always the reputation that they have or have had, but I think in terms of coming together, particularly in times of grief, and we saw that again obviously in the student response after the events of March 15th. There is fundamentally a positive and civic-minded attitude within our student body.
Otago University Students Association President James Heath says the event truly showed the strength of the student community and was a fitting tribute to Sophia. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Last Friday saw wool handlers competing at the Waimate Spring Shears event, drawing both professionals and amateurs from around the region. Judge Amber Casserly says the best of the competitors had judges struggling to find fault with their wool handling technique.
Waimate's Spring Shears last week saw 2 days of heats in both shearing and wool handling categories. Wool handling judge Amber Casserly says a low score is a good thing, as all the points given by the judges are penalty points for faults such as mixing up different types of wool which come from different parts of the sheep's body.
So we're looking for contamination. The competitors are to keep the contamination away from the fleece wool, which is the shorter wool, the things off the top notch that comes off the top, that's a different fibre. So it doesn't take to the dye like the fleece wool does, and they need to keep it all separate.
Wool handling techniques haven't changed much in the last 100 years, and the less experienced competitors racked up far more penalty points than the experts.
Some of them were in the 70s, but then some of them were in the 40s. So the higher the points, the worse they've done. The lower the points, the better they've done.
When it comes to expert wool handlers, Casserly says it's a challenge for the judges to give out any penalty points at all.
So these girls are just learning, whereas in the Open, we've got master wool handlers. We struggle to find points on them. You've really got to look.
The event attracted around 30 entries, down from the 50 which organisers had been hoping for. In Waimate, the South Today.
Crowds filled a Dunedin school hall recently to admire examples of rocks and minerals from all over the world. The National Gem and Minerals Show at Kaikorai Valley College bustled with people keen to take in everything from Panamu to rhodonite.
Young and old enjoying the displays of natural beauty at Kaikorai Valley College over the weekend. The National Gem and Mineral Show is held in a different centre each year, and last weekend saw the event back in Dunedin, being hosted by the Otago Rock and Mineral Club for the first time since 2011. Club President Les Gibson says Otago is a good source of interesting rock specimens.
There's a nice area of rhodonite, which is a pretty pink coloured rock. There's also calcites and aragonites, also highlight opal, so there's quite a lot of varieties.
The club manned an educational table to help inform fossickers about what they might find, and the event also catered for those who wanted to buy or just admire the rocks on display.
We have a lot of sales tables, so you can purchase any of your favourite gems or have a look at what you want to purchase. We also have a competition section where people have entered their favourite gems and minerals.
Gibson says there's a lot waiting to be discovered in the dirt beneath us.
You know, we're part of the earth, and we've got some fabulous rocks and minerals and also geology information under our feet, and people tend to just walk over it and don't think too much of it, but you know, it's an exciting sort of hobby.
Anyone wanting to learn more about minerals and gemstones is encouraged to contact the Otago Rock and Mineral Club. In Dunedin, the South Today.
And that wraps up this edition of Southern News Week. For the latest news from around the southern region, head online to odt.co.nz and follow Channel 39 on Facebook and YouTube. Have a wonderful weekend. Ka kite anō.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.